Today we're going to make a plate. I'm going to start with a simple 3-pound plate. I've wedged and weighed out 3 pounds of clay here, and this will make a dinner plate. We are not going to trim this plate. This is going to be an untrimmed plate. So I'm going to make it on one of these good bats. Pick a good new bat. These black plastic ones work well. A new masonite bat would work. And these are key to the whole thing because you need it. You can't pick a plate up off your wheel without using a bat. And these bats will release your plate cleanly without it having to be cut off or trimmed. So we're not going to cut our piece off. When you cut off a flat piece like a plate, it tends to be uneven and you would need to trim it, and it tends to get thinner. So this way we're going to use our clay to its best advantage. It's easy to throw a plate because the clay is being flung out the whole time, so it's easy to throw a plate from that standpoint. It's hard because you do need quite a bit of clay. So I'm going to center this like I normally would. Go ahead and push it down. Remember to get right over your clay. You have your hands working together. I'm going to cone it up and down 3 times. If you notice that your bat is moving, and a lot of our bats do because the holes are older, the cure for that is to pick your bat up off your piece, off your wheel, and put some slime under it. So somebody that's been throwing, like Jen, is likely to have some slime. Or let's see if there's any here. Jen, could I have some of your slime? If you don't have any of your own yet, ask your neighbor for a little slimy clay. I'm sure by now they have it. So you just want this wet, slimy clay. Spread this across the wheel head.
What's the problem you're solving?
The bat moving. If your bat moves back and forth like this when you're trying to center, the cure is some wet, slimy clay on your wheel head, so it's not moving. The other thing you're going to want to do is bring your clay up into a point and back down into a flat shape without pushing as much from the side until that bat has a chance to seat itself. To start with our clay relatively flat. Stop for a minute and do a little housekeeping. We don't want any of this slimy clay on our wheel head because as we spread our good clay out across the wheel head, we don't want to trap wrinkles of slimy clay under there. So I'm just going to spread that across the wheel head, make sure it's nicely centered. And now I'm going to start spreading this clay out and getting it thin. While you're doing that, it is very easy as your hand moves from the center to the outside. It is very easy to have your hand dive down. I can feel my bat moving again. A little, now I have some slime on my own. I'm going to put some of that under there. It's very easy to have your hand dive down. So while you're spreading this clay to get it the right thickness, picture yourself making a shallow bowl. We'll start with a bowl shape and we're going to bring the bowl down and down till it's flat. If you picture yourself making a flat plate with your hand going straight out, it's likely that due to the amount of clay you're moving as you get to the outside that your hand will dive down and you'll make a plate of that very strange shape, with it thicker in the middle and thin as it gets towards the edge. So I'm going to picture making a bowl as I spread this clay. The other thing to be aware of when you're making a plate is it can be hard to judge the thickness of your plate. So you're going to want to stop often and measure the thickness with your needle tool. To do that, just take your needle tool, poke it in, mark it with your fingers. So you can see I'm still plenty thick. I'm not in any danger of getting too thin. And I'm going to keep spreading this clay. While I'm doing this, I'm pushing down with my hand, with the blade of my hand, but I'm also pushing in with my left hand to keep this clay well compressed as it's being spread. And I'm keeping that bowl shape that I mentioned earlier. I'm just pushing this clay out from the center towards the edge. Make sure you're well over your clay, especially if you're making a big plate, and make sure that your hands are touching as you move this clay out. As it gets close to being finished, you can take your fingers like this and run them from the inside towards the outside. This has the disadvantage of not having any compression there from the side. So as I get to the edge, I'm going to compress it. I'm going to go back and do that again. And I'm keeping that bowl shape. I'm going to stop and test the thickness that I'm getting here. And that looks just about right. That's just about the thickness that I want there. Now I'm going to start flattening it out a little bit. And this is a good time to start using your rib. Start with your rib a little bit off center. Make sure you've got your rib held with your two hands like this. Start a little bit off center so you don't gouge it. Bring it into the center and then start bringing it out towards the outside. This is a good opportunity to go back and forth and get a little more compression on your piece. Plates are prone to S-cracks, so we want to make sure we're compressing the middle as much as we can. Let's get a little of that brown clay off. Lovely white clay. I'm just going to rid this one more time. Now that it's big enough, I'm going to use the long edge of my rib and get it nice and smooth. And bring it down so now it is pretty much flat. While I've been doing this, I haven't been doing much to the rib, so I'm going to turn my attention to the rim. I'm going to turn my attention to the rim here and start to throw the rim. You can have your wheel moving relatively fast for a plate, but when it comes to the rim, be sure to slow your wheel down. And then we're going to throw the rim here just like we normally would. But regardless of the shape of plate you want, start your rim out with it going up, relatively up, as if you were making a pasta dish. Then once this rim is up where you want it to be, as thin as you want it to be, and you're feeling that your clay is still good, you can trim the top. If it became uneven, and because you're throwing with a relatively large amount of clay, your rim may be uneven. There may be some unevenness in your rim. If you are right-handed, this is probably the best time to trim it. You can just bring your needle tool in at a 45-degree angle. Cut that off, lift that off your piece. Now, I'm going to bring this rim down. I'm going to just take a minute, use one of my wooden tools to get a little slime out from under here. This will save me some cleanup time later. Let's get that off there. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this rim down. So this is the point that you make a flared rim. After everything else in your plate looks pretty nice, it's time to bring the rim down. You can bring it down till right the minute before you feel it collapse. And if it does collapse, it's not the end of the world. Because it's on this bat, we can pick it up and hold it upside down and get it back upright again. So don't be afraid, just start bringing your rim down. Smooth that. If you're left-handed, this is the best time to trim your rim. You can hold your tool in your left hand, support it with your right hand, and just bring it through here to cut that off. I'm not going to cut this rim off anymore. It's pretty nice. Just bring it down like that. You can use your chamois to smooth this rim, and to do that, take your wet chamois, gently fold it around the edge. Once again, brown color in there. Fold it around the edge. Get a nice smooth rim on there. I'm going to wipe a little of that clay off. And then one last thing I'm going to do, and this will provide a little compression to the middle, is with your hands relatively clean and a little bit damp, put your finger about 1 inch from the center, make a tiny groove, and then just bring that to the center. And that puts a little spiral in the middle of your piece, and it also provides just a little more compression to it. Do a little housekeeping there. Now, in order to get now that the slime has stuck it to the bat, in order to get it off the bat, I'm going to need to gently work these pins out. If this is too big for you to do this, you might need to pry it, but don't pry it off with one of your own tools. And move this sideways to pick it up. So we don't want to cut this off the bat because this is a good new black plastic bat. We're going to leave it on and just let it dry. And if your rim did collapse, you could take this and turn it upside down, get it back so it's more upright, and perhaps leave it upside down for a few minutes till it holds its shape, and then turn it back upright. Be sure to put your name on this, and then you can set it on the shelf, and when it's completely dry, it'll release cleanly with a really nice smooth bottom that you can just clean up with a sponge and sign. Okay?